Let's get ready to rumble! Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black with orange, official weight 98 kilograms. Professional record 45 fights, 44 victories, including 28 knockouts. From Jilovica, Polska, the former light heavyweight world champion, the former cruiserweight world champion, and the WBC #1 ranked heavyweight challenger in the world, the Polish warrior, Tomasz Adamek. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing black with gold, officially weighing 110.2 kilograms. Professional record, 44 fights, 42 victories, including 39 knockouts. From Kiev, Ukraine, and Hamburg, Germany, the three-time world heavyweight champion, the reigning and defending WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Dr. Eisenhower, Vitali Klitschko.
Remember what I told you in dressing room. No rabbit punch, no headbutts, no low blow. Shake your hands and good luck.
This fight has not played to the kind of fanfare, at least not in the U.S., that Vladimir's fight against David Haye did. Won't be tough to top that one. Won a very good fight. But can these two guys do something better than that? Can they give us something to talk about once the bell rings?
I think it's possible we're safe in absolutely guaranteeing it'll be a better fight than Wladimir versus Haye, just because of the way Adamek fights. Round one begins. Maravecchia, the Italian referee, sauntering out of the way as Vitali Klitschko, as usual, sets up at center ring and begins to measure his man. The Klitschko jab, short and abrupt. It's not pretty, it's tremendously effective.
Just studying the facial expression of Adamek, he doesn't feel comfortable with this situation at all. I think the size of Vitali, and also that Vitali is controlling the distance. He's keeping him at a distance where he can jab, and Adamek cannot mount his attack.
Nothing about Vitali Klitschko is pretty. It's just effective.
But he's effective. He moves in, and as soon as you punches, he creates a space by moving back just enough to get you out of position. And he can hit you with punches while he's moving back and move you out of balance also.
Hard right hand up the middle by Vitali Klitschko. Adamek has not been able to get started yet. We're a minute into the fight, and it has been, so far, another Vitali Klitschko whitewash. Now Tomasz Adamek jumps inside, as it becomes clear he is going to have to do to be competitive. He just can't stand out there at distance and take Vitali's jab, Manuel.
Now, Vitali's a very difficult guy to fight. He looks awkward, but he has a good sense of feeling when a guy is going to punch, and he'll move at the same time, usually in a direction that will neutralize the guy's punch as he's coming in.
Is his sense of space and distance one of his greatest assets?
One of his greatest assets. He's a tall man who fights tall.
Here we see him cutting off the ring as Adamek tries to circle.
The great quote that came out of Hamburg 3 months ago. Wladimir Klitschko said, "I had to learn how to fight. My older brother was born to fight."
Vitali's a very tough man, believe me. Mentally, he's maybe one of the toughest guys that's ever been in the heavyweight division. I would rate him right up there with George Foreman and those type guys as far as his mental makeup.
Knocks Adamek back into the ropes, and as soon as Adamek leaves the ropes, Vitali stuffs another jab into his face.
I couldn't tell if he hurt Adamek with that right hand or if Adamek's feet were simply too close together.
A lot of nervous energy from Adamek. Not many effective punches as he gets his first taste of Vitali Klitschko's remarkable ability to command the ring. Harold Lederman's phrase, ring generalship, is seldom better exhibited than by what Vitali does.
Schritt zurück und dann die rechte Hand. Aber tiefer ansetzen. Das ist ein, zweimal oben drüber geschlagen. Also unten stehen, da, oder Aufwärtshand, rechte Aufwärtshand, klappt gut.
Seemed to momentarily wobbling, top of the head.
Yeah, just the mere strength and the size of Vitali. Even glazing blows have tremendous effect on Adamek.
CompuBox numbers in round one. And here's another look at the right hand toward the end of the round. Well, no, I believe that was the first right hand earlier in the round. CompuBox totals in round one. Klitschko 13 of 47. Adamek 8 of 22. Tomasz Adamek won't have a chance if he can only throw 22 punches in a round. But that was just the first of the scheduled 12.
He might not have a chance if he tries to Michael Spinks, be Michael Spinks to Vitali's Larry Holmes. Given the size disparity, what we've seen in heavyweight history is Jack Dempsey jump on Jess Willard to try to mitigate the reach advantage. Adamek, I don't think, is going to fare very well at this distance. He's going to have to, as you mentioned, Jim, negate that distance, and maybe it's by being much more aggressive than this.
Well, Jack Dempsey may have been the hardest puncher pound for pound in the history of the sport.
I don't think anything Adamek is going to do in this fight is going to negate the advantage of Vitali. Vitali's outboxing him, and when he misses a punch, he moves Adamek's head where he can't come back with a counter punch.
Well, the difference is, too, throughout heavyweight history, guys like Jess Willard or Primo Carnera were not very skilled at a comparable size to Vitali. Vitali, though, as we mentioned, he looks awkward, is quite skilled.
Well, when the Klitschkos first came along, it was clear they would be a problem for American heavyweights because they were so big and both athletic. What we didn't know then was that both would become brilliant ring technicians and tacticians as well. Those bodies are impressive, but at the end of the day, it's their minds which have created the big gap in the division.
And that's right, and Vitali and Wladimir are very mentally strong guys. And as you said, when I think Vitali was fighting with Arreola, you American guys want to compete against the Klitschkos, you're going to have to be prepared to be boxers 365 days of the year.
That's exactly
and many
right.
of our American fighters are not willing to make that commitment.
A lesson Arreola incidentally says he has learned and certainly appears to have inculcated to some extent. His body looks a lot better than it did a couple of years ago when Vitali roughed him up.
You know, in this round, Vitali's landing some good straight shots, but about 30 seconds ago, Adamek landed a left hook that I think bothered Vitali a little bit.
And there's a right hand by Adamek.
They're starting to exchange a little more.
So Adamek perhaps getting his feet wet and developing a little more of a comfort zone as he begins to mix in some of his own punches with Vitali's thudding right hand shot right there.
Adamek had no chance to win this fight unscathed. He's going to have to eat some punches. The question is, how will he react to it? How much does he want to win?
But don't forget, he's not a puncher. We talked about Michael Spinks going against Larry Holmes. At least Michael was a pretty good bangler in addition to being a fairly tall man.
This is a much more competitive round than round one. That's the good news for Adamek. The good news for Vitali Klitschko is that he's handled that competition well enough to again win the round. And he crushes Adamek with that right hand, almost knocked him down. Tomasz Adamek has the guts of a burglar. He's going to need them all tonight.
Should have been a knockdown, Jim. The ropes held him up.
You all right? Yeah. Listen, you can't step straight back from this guy.
Yes. You were right. Ropes held him up. Right, Emmanuel? Box numbers show that Adamek raised his punch output from 22 to 38 in the second round and landed 13 of them. Not bad. Klitschko, however, was 22 of 61, including 13 of his 44 jabs. When a big man throws 44 jabs in a round, it's going to be very hard to control it. Harold Letterman scores it a 10-8 round, clearly observing, as Max did, that should have been a knockdown when Adamek went into the ropes.
Manuel, as you point out, Michael Spinks was virtually the same height as Larry Holmes when he upset Holmes for the heavyweight title, moving up from light heavyweight. He had a similar reach to Holmes, not that much shorter, and so he could box from the outside, jump in and out. That is not how Adamek is built. He's going to have to figure something else out because at this distance, he's just getting clobbered.
You're right, Max, and I don't think he can do much more than that. The jabs eating him up, and after a while, he'll be so preoccupied watching the jabs that when the right hand comes, he won't even see the right hand.
So how about moving within the range of the right hand, taking some sting off of it?
But he's going to have to just come in and just try to make it a brawl, but I don't think he's capable of doing that. Vitali is very good at controlling the distance and the pace of a fight.
Watch Vitali throw his right hand. You'll see how well he understands the importance of leverage for a taller fighter. He gets that right elbow up into the air and throws the punch down to increase its speed and its power.
One of the things that he and his brother does when they have a little workout, they work out together on like a concentration. They would box maybe moving around the ring with each other without punching and never letting their eyes lose focus of the opponent. That's one of the things that both of them do very well. They have continually focused on the opponent and everything that's going on in concentration without ever blinking.
Yeah, and Vitali's ability to throw with his opponent shows that his reflexes are extraordinary.
Yes, very, 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 very anticipation of where a guy's head is going to be before he punches.
Look, in the heavyweight division, size is not unlike speed or punching power or skills. It's an advantage that can be used to your favor. Here, a 40-year-old man, I know he has a huge size advantage, but he's 40 years old, is fighting with his left hand at his knee practically and beating the hell out of the third best guy in the division. Well, I can't remember. When was the last time we saw a heavyweight with hands down at his hips like this?
He does that just to get you to punch at him, then he pulls back. So you see there, he does that just enough to make you punch.
Well, Adamek's going to have to take that invitation and try to load up on something.
Don't forget to watch the finale of 24/7 Mayweather-Ortiz, Friday night, September 16 at 9 Eastern and Pacific. And stay tuned for 24/7 Overtime Live immediately following our live commentary, and special guests will show up on that telecast on HBO. It all leads up to next Saturday night's welterweight showdown between Floyd Mayweather and Victor Ortiz on HBO pay-per-view.
Und wenn ein paar Mal den Jab getan hat, dann zeigst du die rechte und dann kommt der linke lang von unten auf.
CompuBox numbers through 3 rounds. Vitali Klitschko, 52 of 169. Tomasz Adamek, 34 of 97. Adamek actually landing at a higher rate now after having landed some punches in the second and third round. Klitschko, 30 of 119 jabs so far in the fight. Harold, how do you have it scored as we come to the 4th round?
Okay, Jim, I've got a 3-0, 30-26, Vitali Klitschko. Now, Jim, he does deserve an extra point for that knockdown in the second round, which Byrd didn't call a knockdown. I mean, he clearly knocked him off his feet into the ropes. The ropes were holding up Adamek. But Vitali Klitschko, it's amazing. In round 1, he had that left hand up. Just like Max said, from round 2 on, he's throwing that up jab. He drops it, and he comes up with it. Or he brings it up and he throws it straight. Either way, jabbing Adamek to death. 3-0, Vitali Klitschko.
Harold, because the referee Byrd did not rule that a knockdown in the second round, isn't it probable that the 3 official scorers over there in Poland have it 30-27?
What it means is that, you know, they don't have to call it 10-8. They could have called it 10-9. On the other hand, they do have the right to do what I did, call it 10-8.
Gotcha.
Because in Harold's judgment, Adamek was badly enough hurt by that punch that Vitali won the round that big.
But the thing is that he really took him off his feet. That's the reason you're going to give him an extra point.
Yeah, I was in agreement with you, Max, that the ropes held Adamek up.
Most likely.
Well, you saw him wrap his left arm over the rope and grip it. Yeah. That's the telltale sign. Good right hand by Adamek, and the crowd comes alive for that. Hard right hand by Vitali Klitschko.
Now we see Adamek, his stance, Emmanuel's a little more aggressive.
Yes, he's got to fight more aggressive. Just sitting back, backing up and trying to anticipate what Vitali is going to do would never work.
That's to Adamek's credit, by the way. If what you prepared for isn't working, you got to go to a plan B.
Absolutely. Plan A was going to lead to a slow death. This may lead to a quicker one, but at least it gives him a chance to be in the fight.
This is his only chance. But, you know, when you have a tall man standing 5 inches taller than you, it's very hard to see those right hands. So even though he holds his right hand down, meaning Vitali, when he shoots it, a lot of time you don't see it still. And he's keeping it down so he can try to throw it, mixing up uppercuts with his right hand.
And Emmanuel, Adamek's face is starting to break apart under Vitali's punishment. Is he aware of that?
Well, he's broken apart in a lot of fights that came through, so it's part of his fitness.
It doesn't bother him. He's a very courageous fighter.
He's a true warrior.
You know, you watch Adamek throw the hook. He's so scared of Vitali's right hand by now that he doesn't step in with a good quick hook, Emmanuel. He's kind of slowing it up tentatively, and therefore it's not landing. Vitali's able to get his right hand up to block it.
When Vitali pulls back, a lot of punches that the crowd is going crazy are just barely hitting the gloves or shoulders of Vitali. That's the way he fights. The crowd is going in, but they're not landing that clean. But what's interesting in looking at the reach, that Adamek's reach is, I think, longer than Vitali's.
It looks that way.
Yeah, even though Vitali's arms is big, no, it doesn't, because he's still too tall.
Genauso weiter. Nur nicht jetzt mit Gewalt arbeiten. Immer wieder schnell sein. Locker die linke Hand, harte linke Hand. Locker die linke Hand, rechte aufwärts sagen. Das muss ein Takt sein. Oder die rechte oben drüber. Aber tiefer ansetzen, nicht oben drüber schlagen. Tempo ist okay. Das siehst du, wo er kommt. Nicht gerade zurückgehen, sondern zur Seite.
Rick Sadunik, Vitali Klitschko's trainer, speaks to him in German as you gather there. One of the 4 languages in which Vitali could do this business. He could do it in English, he could do it in Ukrainian, he could do it in Russian, or he can do it the way he does here in German. Yeah. Wladimir, same thing.
I think they speak 5 languages.
6 if you include boxing.
Fluent. Round 5 of a scheduled 12. Tomasz Adamek gets off first in the 5th round, and the crowd once again roars for that. As we mentioned in the last round, Adamek clearly seeming to have made a decision to be more aggressive and step inside more. Has to do something to counter the effectiveness of that jab.
But I think he's adjusted a little bit to the height differential, which seemed to really, really bother him a lot at the beginning. And he's more comfortable now with the height of Vitali. He's adjusted and fighting better now than he did earlier.
Also seems Adamek's going a little more to that straight right hand. Maybe Emmanuel, could it be that he feels less vulnerable to Vitali's right by throwing his own right?
No, I wouldn't really say that. It seems like he's getting more comfortable with the fight and everything, and punching and fighting better and thinking better.
We mentioned the courage of Tomasz Adamek. His first showcase in the United States was in Chicago in 2006 on the undercard of Lehman Brewster and Andrew Galata, fighting against Paul Briggs of Australia. It was one of the most blood-curdling fights of the last decade, partially because in the first round, Adamek's nose was crushed, broken into several pieces by a Briggs shot, and his nose poured blood for the entire 12 rounds while he was beating Briggs.
He's been given a lot of blood to us in fights throughout the recent years. Never complained, and that's what he's known for, and that's what a lot of people, including you, said that this would be a much better fight than the Haye Wladimir Klitschko, just because of the mental makeup and the courage that he has.
So far it has been better, yeah.
Already has been.
Speaking of bloody noses, by the way, it's like Adamek's showing some red under there right now.
Well, he's been taking a lot of jabs. I mean, he may throw punches and the crowd goes crazy, but the really effective punch in this fight has been still the jabs coming from Vitali. See, now he's mixed up now. He shot a right uppercut and then he went back with a jab. So he's got Adamek very confused now because he's doing so many different things now. Instead of just doing one thing, he's mixing up his punch. He's throwing hooks, he's throwing uppercuts. He may have cuffed him with a right, then he'll throw a straight right. And to get physically fatigued and also mentally getting fatigued, it's a tough situation to be in.
Everybody tends to compare Wladimir Klitschko to Lennox Lewis because of their bodies and their styles. It's an easy comparison to make. I think the fighter Vitali most resembles is George Foreman in his second career. Fighting at his own pace, using brains as much as brawn.
Yep, and not looking all that classic, but very effective.
Absolutely. Good right hand in there by Adamek.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, here you see right now a beautiful jab, which was, I think, still been the signature punch in the fight. And you'll see right on, you see him throwing right hands and left hooks.
Step to the right. Yeah. Okay, if you step to the left, then use that jab. Use the jab and put something behind it. You caught him with a nice hook right hand. You got to do more. They're going to give him the rounds. That's
You're listening to Adamek's excellent trainer, Roger Bloodworth. He worked in the past with Andrew Galata, with Fernando Vargas, several other fighters whom you've seen on HBO's World Championship Boxing.
And Pernell Whitaker.
Bloodworth is a technical trainer.
Very good trainer.
We are in Wrocław, Poland, for the battle between Vitali Klitschko and Tomasz Adamek. Easy for you to distinguish the two. Adamek is the smaller fighter on the left. Klitschko is the larger fighter on the right. As we go into the 6th of the scheduled 12, according to Harold Letterman and frankly to the naked eye, Vitali Klitschko has won every round, repeating the pattern which has obtained ever since he came back from his 4-year layoff a few years ago.
You heard Roger Bloodworth in the corner tell Adamek they're going to give him the rounds, that's just the way it is. The reason they're going to give Vitali the rounds is because he's beating the hell out of Adamek, and I don't think the change in strategy by degrees of Adamek getting slightly more aggressive is going to change anything other than to expedite his demise.
Tremendous right hand shot, and this time the Italian referee does correctly rule it a knockdown as the ropes kept Adamek up.
Beginning of the round, you saw Vitali throwing right uppercuts. Then he throws a straight right hand over top.
And he's hitting him because Adamek is there to be hit at long range. At a certain point, Adamek's corner has got to tell him, you got to rush him, you got to get inside and stay in his chest and throw caution to the wind.
Vitali's only the third fighter ever to knock Adamek down. The slick, quick Tad Dawson did it in outclassing Adamek in his only loss in the light heavyweight division, and Paul Briggs knocked him down in the first round of the 12-round war in Chicago that I described a while ago. Right now, Adamek is wobbling, and Vitali's looking to finish.
Vitali's fighting like a big man beating up a little man. That's what this really comes down to. And it's not even a competitive contest anymore.
Stop. Watch your head, man. Watch your head. Box.
Adamek lurches forward and lands a body shot, but they are becoming fewer and farther between now.
These are heavyweights, and things can turn with one punch. But
Adamek is nothing to him but a cruiserweight fighting a super heavyweight, not even a regular heavyweight.
Right.
And this is just too much of a disparity in the size.
And the point is,
with the skill on top of Vitali.
The point is, even though a fight can change in one punch, it's not one punch that Adamek's getting hit with. At this point, it's dozens clean in the head by a nearly 250-pound man.
Yeah. Well, the thuddingly obvious point is continually underlined, and it shows up again today. In all probability, there's only one heavyweight in the world who could really challenge Vitali Klitschko, and that's the guy he's never going to fight, his brother Wladimir.
And Wladimir said if we ever fought Emmanuel, one of us would end up permanently damaged for life. It's the way we used to fight because of the competitive spirit in us.
There's one more out there, I think, that would make an interesting matchup with either Klitschko in the next year or so.
But did you see what Vitali did? Whenever he lands a punch, he moves you with that same punch as he. That's why you can't get close. He throws a right and he'll move your head after if he lands or misses, and that way you can't get inside.
Are you about to say Robert Helenius, Max?
I am.
All right, let's talk about it in the next round.
Lass ihn lieber Zeit, schlage präzise.
Here you see a beautiful straight right hand for Vitali, right at the time when Adamek was kind of looking for punches to come underneath. Perfect right hand. And the fact that he's still standing up and fighting attests to the fact that he's got a tremendous chin.
So that was the best round of the fight for Vitali Klitschko, and they've all been good. And you wonder how much more Adamek can take. Quite frankly, given his past record, he could probably go the full 12 and take all of the punishment. But he seems to be edging toward trying to be more aggressive, which again could lead to a shorter fight. CompuBox numbers in the 6th round. Vitali Klitschko, 32 out of 69.
Vitali again, the same right hand again. And he turned his full body weight into those shots there too. There's no half punching. He's turning all the way through and committing on those punches.
He was 32 out of 69, his high levels for the fight. Adamek was only 4 out of 23. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, 6-0, 60-52, Vitali Klitschko. I mean, boy, did we get a good view of that thudding right hand that Vitali Klitschko threw in round number 6. I mean, he's got some power out right here, another one right there. I mean, Vitali landed that jab, piling up the points, controlling the fight, doing everything he has to do to win each and every round so far. Really one-sided fight. Give Vitali an extra point in rounds 2 and round 6 because he took him off his feet. 6-0, Vitali Klitschko.
See there, every time that Adamek starts to move forward, Vitali takes that little step back, just enough to keep him off balance. And and he continues to still works his jab. In between all of the other big punches, he still goes back to his jab, something a lot of fighters don't do.
Commentary here can become redundant like the fight. Adamek can keep doing this and this can keep happening, or someone can say forget about any tactical changes, you need a basic strategic change. Go get this guy, it's your only shot. That apparently has not yet happened, although Adamek is not like he's fighting without heart. He's taking a terrible beating and he's continuing to try. He just needs a new approach.
See what he did with his right hand after he threw it there. He moved his head again. Every time Vitali throws a right hand, he uses the same hand to move the opponent's head so he can't come back with a counter punch.
A subtle skill.
Yep. A lot of the good, big, tall fighters did that. Muhammad Ali did it very effective, too.
Yeah, but Ali would actually back away from punches because he was quick enough to do it.
Yeah,
Vitali can't do that.
He doesn't have the foot
He
speed,
has to
no.
rely on skill.
Yeah, keep maintaining the distance and the space is what he's been. That's what he did just there. Is what he does continue. See there? He doesn't block the punches. He pulls away from the punches instead of just blocking them, which would hold his opponent's weight up.
This is why Adamek has to leap in with one of those left hooks like he means it, Emmanuel.
Yes, he had to leap in forward. See there? As soon as he came in, Vitali pulled back and started to jab.
Emmanuel, you've done so much thinking and so much talking about the strategy of fighting big, how to stay tall, be tall, and fight from a tall stance. Of the three excellent heavyweights in recent years who've done that, Lennox Lewis, Wladimir Klitschko, and Vitali Klitschko, and you've worked with all three in the gym at one time or another. Which one adheres best to the principles of big man fighting?
I would say Wladimir. Wladimir. He just Lennox was the one that was be more explosive, because he would take risks and explode more. But for just staying tall and controlling, Wladimir is the best control man I've ever worked with.
And that was a better round because when he stepped back, he stepped up.
Immer wieder ein bisschen mehr Spannung rein. Und wenn er angreift, du merkst, er geht ein bisschen, es geht, ist besser heute. Und wenn er angreifen will, er geht immer runter, macht sich klein. Musst du den Schritt zurück und dann kannst du ihn abfangen mit dem Overzahn.
With that right hand, left hook.
Second down, please.
Gentlemen, since coming back from 4 years off with injury in 2008, this will be the 70th round of heavyweight boxing for Vitali Klitschko, and arguably, he's won them all.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing. At his age. Now, he's not fighting the same level opponent until tonight that Vladimir's been fighting.
But Vitali is a very dominating guy. As soon as the bell rings, he sets the pace. He's busy. He has a great knockout record, but the record is basically in percentage off of him being so busy and systematically destroying guys, whereas Wladimir is much more explosive. He can do everything with just one punch, but he's not aggressive enough the way his Vitali is.
No, it's a great point. Vitali Klitschko has the highest knockout percentage in the history of the heavyweight division, and he's done that without having the kind of one-punch power that, for instance, Sonny Liston or Lennox Lewis or any number of George Foreman, any number of other heavyweights have had.
No, but he sets the tempo. As soon as the fight starts, he comes out right away with his hands down. He starts jabbing and throwing things and making his opponent get to thinking about what he's going to do.
I was at Madison Square Garden. I watched him beat the hell out of a knockout Kirk Johnson. He won a real rough and tumble fight against the very explosive, dangerous Corrie Sanders. He went toe-to-toe with Lennox Lewis. He fights, compared to Wladimir, like he looks, a little more rugged.
But the difference is, Wladimir, you could have a party going on at the house with lights on and everything, and all of a sudden the whole room goes black. And you know that's Vladimir's in the house. He's the only one that can do that with one single punch.
A bigger one-punch puncher than Vitali.
Yeah, but Vitali is a fragile. He looks less fragile and unsecure the way he fights as compared to Vitali.
Oh, well, there's no question that Wladimir has the more vulnerable chin, don't you think?
Well, the history will show that.
Yes.
So the way you stop that, don't get hit.
Maybe that's why Wladimir has become, as you say, the best at fighting the big man principle, because he needs to be. It's all about not letting your chin go beyond your front knee.
That's right.
The Klitschkos between them have not lost a fight in about 7 years. And as you mentioned, Jim, even between them, they've barely lost a round. They've positively cleaned out the heavyweight division.
Well, the debate, down goes Vitali Klitschko, and the referee Barabakia is ruling it a slip.
What happened? That was a very
Hard to
odd
tell
kind
what
of-
happened. We need a replay to determine, was there a punch? Why did Vitali pull?
I don't think it was a punch.
I didn't see a right hand.
I think he lost his balance when he was throwing the right hand.
That was Mrs. Vitali Klitschko standing up
Yes.
in that ringside shot. Lovely woman, lives in Los Angeles with their 3 children, all of whom were born in the USA. Replay coming, we're told.
Tiefer stehen und Distanz behalten.
Here we see what may have been a knockdown. He threw a right hand and got off balance.
That looked to me like a knee went out or something, Emmanuel. Why did he fall?
He threw his right, turned his right leg over, looked like it, and he twisted it right there.
Very odd fall.
Yeah, but it was definitely not a
Appeared,
knockdown.
definitely to twist the back ankle and get that foot off balance, and ultimately caused him to teeter over.
Well,
Look,
that's
if you're 40 years old, you're vulnerable because your body starts to break down, as Emmanuel spoke about before the fight.
You know, we talked about how Vitali's won every round since the comeback. If Adamek had managed to mix in a punch there, he might have gotten credit for a knockdown and he might have won a round.
He definitely would have gotten credit for knocking. That's the biggest concern that all of the people in Vitali's camp is always worried about is his legs physically from, as I said, his days back when he was kickboxing.
And yet another reason why Adamek needs to be in his chest, making this a physical fight and not a boxing match from long range, which he cannot win.
It's a great point. Klitschko's Achilles heel is his connective tissue. He's had injuries to shoulders, knees, ankles, you know, all of the places where tendons and ligaments hold you together. Vitali's had problems. So Adamek needed to put pressure on that body.
As a result of that slip, or what do you call it, if I was in Adamek's corner, I would tell him go all out now. Because whatever the whether it was accident or not, for him to just throw a right hand and fall down, you should try to take it. Maybe something else wrong with his right leg.
Well, the question came up among our production troops a couple of rounds ago, is Vitali tiring?
I don't think he's tiring.
I don't either.
No. It's just how much punishment can Adamek take?
And if Adamek does not really commit to the bum's rush and comes in tentatively as he's doing, he's going to get caught right on the end of those right hands, as has been happening this round.
We criticized the referee Barabakia for not ruling a knockdown in the second round when Vitali knocked Adamek into the ropes. I guess we should give him credit for realizing at the end of that incident in the last round that there had been no punch. Hard to tell at first. Adamek looks very weary, getting jabbed around the ring here in the ninth.
That was the exact word I was going to say. Looked very weird. It looked like mental fatigue is set in also right now.
Those jabs are landing like right hands.
Yeah, but Vitali's never stopped jabbing. It's the one thing that I give him and Wladimir credit. They never stopped jabbing.
44 jabs per round Vitali has averaged in the fight. Back in the day when Lennox Lewis was controlling the heavyweight division, there was a statistical barometer via CompuBox. If Lennox threw 30 jabs in a round, you couldn't touch it. Nobody was near him, nobody could beat him if he threw 30 jabs in a round. If he threw as few as 20, he was vulnerable.
That was one of my favorite weapons of all the heavyweights I trained is jabs. Very few people really utilize the jab nowadays.
Well, George Foreman's greatest line when he was working with us, Emmanuel, this sport is easy if you have a jab.
Yeah. George had a very strong jab.
Telephone pole.
Very strong, stiff. He and Sonny Liston may have two of the stiffest jabs in the history of the heavyweight division.
George threw it a little bit the way Vitali does, just sort of lifting his arm up and popping it.
Larry Holmes at times jabbed the same way from his hip if he felt in control of the fight.
Larry Holmes, one of the most underrated and unappreciated heavyweights in history.
He's in my top 10.
Phenomenal.
And he was a great jabber.
Jetzt musst du konzentriert und schnell die rechte Hand in der setzen. Weißt du, du bist zu hoch für den rechten Aufwärtshaken. Und wenn er reinspringt, er kommt dahin und wieder verliert die Attacke. Den Schritt zurück und dann auffangen. Mit der rechten Hand entweder als Cross oder Aufwärtshaken. Bloß dazu musst du immer wieder unten stehen. Nochmal Wasser.
Well, you saw the graphic for Bernard Hopkins against Chad Dawson. Prior to today, Chad Dawson was the only man to have beaten Tomasz Adamek in 45 fights. It appears that Vitali Klitschko is well on the way to joining him in that distinction. In the 9th round, Klitschko 27 of 55 jabs. Adamek was reduced to 30 punches overall, landing 9. It's been another one-sided fight in favor of a Klitschko. What's new? Harold, how do you have it through 9?
I agree with the theory that the Klitschkos haven't lost a round. I've got it 9-0, 90-79, Vitali Klitschko. You know, Jim, the one thing that amazes me is that Tomasz Adamek, I mean, if I were Tomasz Adamek, I would come over the top with a right hand. I mean, throw it to me with this boom right hand. Just wind up and let it go. And Adamek doesn't do it. I mean, you fight the guy that's big. He leans in a little. You notice how he leans in? I mean, if you're going to get him, you got to get him over the top with a right hand. Somehow or another, Adamek just doesn't do it. And that amazes me. He's made 9-0, Vitali Klitschko.
When Adamek does try to throw the right hand, all he does is get a shoulder. Vitali leans into him, but when he punches, Vitali always pulls away from him. So when he punches, he's gotten frustrated because he looks like he's there, but when he punches, he's not there.
Now you see the target, now you don't. Vitali Klitschko.
Yep. Meanwhile, if Klitschko does not score the knockout here, and maybe he does right here, but if he doesn't Rocky Marciano move back into first place for heavyweight championship KO percentage?
Could be.
It's not over with. The referees get in the position to stop the fight.
I don't see the point in this fight continuing.
Yeah, but there was no point in the Shannon-Briggs fight going 12 rounds either. And it happened. Briggs wound up in a hospital for 8 days after a referee allowed Vitali to touch him up for 12 full rounds. And you wonder how Adamek's going to feel after this one.
Well, there Adamek loaded up on something.
Wobbles back into the ropes after a jab. How much longer can Adamek stand up in the face of all this?
I think Adamek's corner is going to have to stop the fight.
Yeah, he's not going to stop himself. That's it.
Good
and the
stop.
referee's going to do it. Excellent stoppage by the referee.
The referee was getting in position for the last 30 or 40 seconds.
And Adamek looks relieved. Another knockout, again by accumulation of punishment. Again, he won every round, practically every second of every round. And that was against a guy who has made a spirited bid in the last 3 years to become the number 3 heavyweight in the world. Here's Vitali finishing him off.
Just too big and too good for this guy. But at this stage, he's mentally and physically worn out completely. And I'm quite sure he welcomed the stoppage himself.
Stays ahead of Rocky Marciano, all-time heavyweight knockout percentage. Vitali Klitschko.
Well, this is interesting. I mean, I'll probably get in trouble for this one, Max, but Marciano went 49-0. Everybody talks about how weak the division is now. Marciano's biggest title defense was against Roland Lastarza. Don't you think the Klitschkos have fought the same kind of opposition that Rocky Marciano fought?
In both cases, they fought who was available, and they both cleaned out the division. Although there was only one Marciano, there are 2 Klitschkos. Gives them a sort of unfair advantage.
Here's the final CompuBox score. 230-89 in landed punches. More than doubled the thrown punches. Landed at a significantly higher percentage. Jabs next. Unbelievable show of jabbing. 140 of 414, 34%. You're going to win the fight if you throw 414 jabs and you land at that percentage. And oh, by the way, if you land at or close to 50% of your power punches, that's another surefire indicator. So the bottom line is Vitali had this one boxed every way imaginable. Punch Zone will show us where Adamek took all the punishment. 175 punches to the upper head and 50 to the chin. Tomasz Adamek got hit 225 times on the head or the face tonight, and only 3 body shots landed by Vitali. Similar to what Wladimir did to David Haye. Wladimir didn't land a single body shot, but completely touched up Haye around the head, just as did Vitali here.
I think I would disagree on those figures. I didn't see Vitali get hit with 50 body shots himself. I mean, Adamek couldn't get close enough to do that. And I thought that Vitali landed more body shots. I thought he landed about 10 good right hands to the rib.
Vitali hasn't been hit with 50 shots in his last 5 fights combined.
Klitschko landed 34 of his last 59 punches thrown, 58% to close the show. But what matters is the W. And the visible evidence on Adamek's face shows you how easily Vitali collected that. Roger Bloodworth dreamed for years he was going to get a heavyweight championship with Andrew Golota. Didn't happen. Adamek, he told us before this fight, is a far stronger, more resolute personality. Everybody knows that.
But physically just too small.
So we wait again for someone who's big enough, strong enough, brave enough, and smart enough to challenge either Klitschko. And Max, you suggest that the best hope may be Robert Helenius of Finland.
He's very big. He's athletic. He can punch. Most importantly, he throws punches in combination, which is rare for a big athletic heavyweight. He's a lot younger, especially than Vitali. And Larry Merchant was saying during the Arreola fight that he had a hunch Arreola could maybe win because he's a real fighter, throws in combination, he's young, and Vitali's getting older. Maybe it was a little premature at that moment, but eventually Vitali's going to be too old, and Helenius is a lot bigger than all their recent Klitschko opponents.
And athletic.
And undefeated. And when he knocks guys out, it ain't on a TKO stoppage. These guys are out cold when Helenius knocks them out.
We're waiting for the official particulars on the knockout here. Eventually, ring announcer Michael Buffer will step to the center of the ring and begin telling us about the victory for Vitali. But until that happens, we're filling, quite frankly, while you watch pictures from Poland. Another brave effort by Tomasz Adamek. He didn't exactly back down. He wasn't David Haye, but he simply didn't have the guns necessary to go into the fight.
Nor the wherewithal to switch strategy mid-fight and actually try to win, rather than just carry out a losing game plan.
Coming up tonight on HBO Sports, live coverage from Atlantic City of Yuriorkis Gamboa against Daniel Ponce de Leon. Gamboa will be defending his status as the number 126-pounder in the world. He's the best kind of champion in the sport, one unencumbered by meaningless title belts.
You know, Vitali Klitschko has the WBC belt, and his brother has the other 4 or 5 belts. But Vitali says, I have the belt that Muhammad Ali and Joe Louis had, Larry Holmes had. So that's his consolation when everyone refers to his brother as having more of the belts and considered the number 1. He says, I have the most important to me, the WBC.
Fighters see that. Fighters don't pay as much attention as we journalists do to the current behavior of governing bodies, including that one.
You would say that they're equally ridiculous. They take turns being increasingly outrageous. At this moment, maybe that belt is the second most outrageously incompetent or corrupt, take your pick, organization.
Well, it appears that we're just about ready for Michael Buffer to give us the official size up of what happened here. He's waiting for a cue from Polish television. Now he's got it.
Before we give the official time, let's acknowledge the heart and determination of this 2-time world champion, the Polish warrior, Tomasz Adamek. Of round number 10, the winner by TKO victory and still WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Dr. Eisenhower, Vitali